Hello everybody, welcome back to the Craft Beer Hub. Today is an exciting day. We're in the middle of May and finally Morrisons have got their act together and got some new beers on their shelves for you. It's been an eternity since Morrisons done a big beer drop. Their last beer drop was massive. There was new stuff from Salt, Northern Monk, North Brewing. There were loads more. Polly's were in there as well. There were loads of beers dropping in Morrisons about a year ago. And it's been a bit barren since, especially down or out here in the east where I am, east of England. Our Morrisons have had nothing new at all, really, which is a shame because they've installed those lovely craft beer fridges in my Morrisons, and they just haven't been able to put any new beer in them. But I was up in Norwich today collecting some materials for my work. I'm an electrician. There's not many places around here where I live to get materials, so I have to go to Norwich. And the Morrisons there, I popped in for a bit of lunch. And I saw these beers. I was like, wow, let's get into these. There were a few more than what I've got. I've kind of got the ones. We'll kind of go through them and I'll explain. But we'll do these beers. I'm going to sort of go through the beers, what I've got, and then I'm going to taste them from sort of what I think might be the worst beer to what I think might be the best beer. So, first beer is Northern Monk Flake and Sauce. It's a vanilla, raspberry and chocolate ice cream pale ale. I don't know how I feel about that. It's a bit novelty. The one good thing about this beer, I suppose, is Northern Monk do novelty beers quite well. You've only got to think back to like the Jam Roly Poly Pal that they did. That was actually all right. It was just a good bit of fun. Northern Monk, I don't think they take themselves too seriously when they do their novelty beers, and that does them a massive favour because some of them are a little bit weird. Next one is the Outland Ginger Pale. I spoke to the guys at Outland. They're literally a brand new company set up by Badger Brewery. You've obviously heard of Badger, very traditional brewery. And they wanted to create a more sort of craft-focused sub-brand, if you like. So Outland is the sub-brand. There you go. The next beer is also from Northern Monk. It's called Eternal Summer, and it's described as a tropical pale ale. Northern Monk generally put the word tropical, or they kind of define the flavour and then the style of the beer if there's kind of additions or adjuncts added to the beer. So I'm expecting some sort of pineapple juice, mango, passion fruit juice thing in that. And then we've got the beer that I've got. I'm really excited for this actually. Some of you will, if you've ever had Timothy Taylor's Landlord, it's just a really good solid commonly found pale ale. Well, Timothy Taylor's have canned and put a beer that's into a can that's more craft focused, and it's called Hopical Storm Pale. There you go, 4% that one. I should say that the Timothy Taylor Hopical Storm was $3.25. The Northern Monk Tropical Pale Ale was $3.25. The Outland Ginger Pale was £2.50. Which is pretty cool. And the ice cream pale was £3.25. So the first thing that jumps out at me is a lot of like, and 25p's. I don't really think you see that, especially from breweries like Northern Monk. So I'm kind of wondering whether the prices, because I mean, beers from the Northern Monk beers, you start around about £3. You might find the odd one for £2.50 if it was the Aunt Bessie's pale ale. But generally speaking, Northern Monk's beers used to start at £3, so I'm kind of wondering whether they've just upped it, whether like the new sort of baseline for Northern Monk is £3.25. What was the other? The Timothy Taylor was £3.25. Who knows? Right, worst to best. Here we go. I can't remember what I was going to do now. What order I was going to do them. Right, let's get this one open. The Northern Monk Flake and Sauce. Ice cream pale ale is going to be lactosey. I'm not a fan of putting lactose in pale beers at all. I don't mind it in a stout. I think it works really well. I've just got a funny feeling that this beer... Where's the bottle opener gone? There it is. I've just got a funny feeling that this beer might just have too much in it. Just from the description. I do worry, and it smells, oh my god. Just the smell that I got there. Right, let's get it into the can. I'll get it into the glass, sorry. Get it out of the can, see what we get. She's pink. Very, very pink. I'm going to kind of do a brief beer review for these 4 beers, just so you know whether they're worth picking up or not. or see if they perk your interest in some way. There we go, Flake and Sauce. What ABV was this? 5.7. Fair play. Proper ABV, this pale ale. It's described on the side of the can, because I've just seen it, as soft, creamy and saucy. What have we got then? Well, we've got a kind of pinky cross between pink and straw coloured beer. Subtle carbonation, off-white head. Looks alright in the glass, I have to say. It looks very similar, actually, to the Jan Roly Poly beer. Yeah, let's get an aroma then. Definitely raspberry. Definitely getting that vanilla. Vanilla's coming through quite nicely, actually. Definitely got a creamy backbone to the aroma as well, which supports those flavours. I'm getting chocolate. It's definitely more of like a chocolatey... It doesn't smell like milk chocolate. It's kind of got like a chocolate oil, chocolate sort of essence thing to it. Let's just go in. I don't know what to think of this. Cheers, everybody. It does what it says on the tin. The raspberry's absolutely in there. That's the dominant flavour. The chocolate is in there. The vanilla comes in quite late. It's quite floral vanilla. Never really. It's quite sweet all the way through. Towards the back, there is this strange brewdog-esque kind of chemical bitterness. Creamy mouthfeel, subtle carbonation. What's that bitterness up to? There's the vanilla. There's a slightly biscuit note. And there is a strange, sticky, astringent bitterness that I'm not a fan of. Commonly, it's not as bad as the Brewdog beers. Nowhere near as bad as the Brewdog beers. The Brewdog beers, for the first sip you have, it almost pains your mouth for about 30 seconds. This is nowhere near that. It's just a telltale sign of a kind of adjuncty artificial beer. It's lovely and creamy in the mouth. No hint of that 5.7% either, but I think maybe the adjuncts and everything else covers that up. The chocolate's in there. Like I say, definitely more sort of aromatic chocolate, like a chocolate essence or a chocolate oil. It's not going to win any awards, but it's not the worst beer I've ever drunk in the world at all. I'm going to give that a 2.5 out of 5. I don't think it's the best, but it's certainly not the worst. Let's go in again. Let's go for the Outland Ginger Pale. Now, this is a beer that really interests me. Really, really interests me. I quite like the Badger beers. I had the Badger Milk Stout, or Milkmaid, I think it was called. It was really quite good at canned. And I think that might be... There was another can of the Outland beer, and I think it was a Milk Stout. So I'm certain I asked the Outland guys whether it was the same beer, and I think they said yes. I think. Double fact check that. But we've already had that beer, and it's solid. Really, really solid for a Milk Stout. Outland Ginger Pale. Let's have a quick look then. Wow, that looks mega. Lovely, cloudy, darker straw-coloured beer. Lovely levels of carbonation. Beautiful head on it, actually. It looks really good in the glass, I have to say. This one looks really good. Let's get an aroma then. Lovely bready malts. Slight hint of ginger and spice. Smells really refreshing, actually. Let's go in. Cheers, everybody. That's good. It's definitely got, even though it's kind of put in and made it, it's kind of made to look crafty. It's definitely got a British ale yeasty. It's definitely got that ale yeasty backbone that runs all the way through the flavours. You can definitely tell it's been brewed by a big regional brewer. But the ginger, the balance, the way they've put whatever they've done with balancing in the ginger with the beer is cracking work. It's lovely and bready. It's even at the back end, it's lovely and bready all the way through. A proper British pale ale, this, with a sort of crafty twist. It's just lovely and malty and bready all the way through. The ginger comes in, but it's only just. You can definitely tell it's there. I mean, for instance, if I think to ginger pale ales, you have to go back to the Lord's Brewing Company, the collaboration they did. John from Lord's did with Paul's Beer Reviews. That was a lot more gingery than this. It was a lot more spicy than this. That's kind of the craft side. So Lord's are obviously a very craft-focused brewery. Outland, obviously being managed and owned by Badger. This is going to be a bit more mainstream. And it's good for it. I'm not criticising it. It is good for it. Fantastic mouthfeel, light carbonation. It's floral. It's bready. The ginger's in there. There's a bit of other spice in there as well with the ginger. That's a really good beer. And for just to remind you, that's £2.50. £2.50 compared to that Northern Monk beer that was $3.25. I genuinely think that could be a fridge filler for a lot of people. The ginger's just perfectly balanced. It's not overly. It's a really approachable beer. It's not kind of, if you don't like ginger, I don't think you'd dislike this beer. It's not there too prominently. If you just like a good, lovely malty, malt forward, bready pale ale with those floral hop notes in there with the ginger and spice, this is all for you. That's really good. I'm going to give that, especially for the price. Now I have to bring price into play because this is 75 pence cheaper than any of the other beers I'm reviewing on this video. Price into play. That's a 4.5 out of 5. That is a really good beer from Outland. Fair play. I spoke to the guys. They're awesome guys as well at Outland. Yeah, cracking job. Now the next beer. This is the beer, the Eternal Sunshine beer. So anytime Northern Monk put a new beer into the supermarket, I do get excited because I genuinely think... And I know probably 2 years ago, I would have said they were the best brewery in the supermarket. You will not get better beers. I think North have overtaken them in the last 12 months. But I still get excited for a Northern Monk beer. Lovely can art again, with all the tropical fruits and things on there. Lovely orange colour. Yeah, it's just typical Northern Monk. Typical Northern Monk. This beer, yet again, was £3.25, and it's described as a tropical pale ale at 4.5% in a 440 can. Let's get it open, see what we get. Come on, please be good. Please be good. I don't mind it when they put fruit juicy and coulis and puree into beer. I don't mind it. It's not the end of the world. It just needs to be well balanced. I know there's a market for it. Right, let's get it into the glass. Okay, it's not as cloudy as I thought it would be. I said at the start of this video, I was worrying that they'd put some sort of juices in here. A beer with juice in is normally cloudier than that and darker than that. But that just looks like a really good quality pale ale in the glass. It's a lovely, slightly hazy straw coloured beer. Subtle levels of carbonation again. Not quite a tighty white foamy head. Big bubbles. And so I like smaller bubbles in beer. I got told once that it means there's more. It's something to do with extracting the proteins out of the malt, and it's a better quality. So I like smaller bubbles in beer. I need to brush up on my brewing knowledge, to be honest with you. That's coming though. That is coming. I can tell you that. But yeah, it just looks like a really good quality pale ale in the glass. It just looks tropical. I know, and I've got it in my head now, but it does look tropical. Let's get an aroma then, see what we get. Wow, definitely, it's still slightly malty. I've just got it in my head that because Northern Monk, every time they say tropical, orange and passion fruit and all that means they've put juice in it. So I've just got it in my head that they've put juice in here, but the flavours are more hop focused. There is passion fruit, there is orange, mango, pineapple, but it's quite sharp. Oh, there we go. It's quite sharp fruit aromas, which makes me think it's hoppy. Normally it's really sweet if it's juice and things. Oh well, let's have a little look. Cheers everybody. That's one of the worst Northern Monk beers I've had. It's just not very good. The mouthfeel is terrible, and that is one of the biggest factors behind a Northern Monk beer. Normally the mouthfeel is amazing and it supports all those beautiful tropical hop flavours that they bring to the party. This is really thin. The flavours are just never there. Slightly orangey, slight bit of pineapple. I mean, it's really, really, really watery. At the end, you get a bit of that malt flavour, but not a whole lot. And the beer's gone. Far too... The carbonation is too much for the... The carbonation... If you took away that malt, it would just taste like a cheap soft drink. Do you know what I mean? Those cheap soft drinks. If you took away the malt back end, carbonation is... It's quite well carbonated. The mouthfeel is just thin. It's so thin. There's kind of a bit of an artificial orange, a bit of an artificial bit of pineapple in there. It finishes malty at the end, but that is really poor. That is... I'm gutted. Northern Monk, please. What are you doing? I rate Northern Monk. I mean, that beer there, one of their patrons' project beers. I know this particular beer would have been £5, £6, £7. I know that. Outstanding. Some of the Northern Monk beers I've had, some of the best beers I've ever tasted. But that is not good enough. That's 75p more expensive than the Outland. And this wipes the floor with it. And they're a craft... Northern Monk are a craft-focused, quality-focused company. Outland, I'm not saying they're not quality-focused. They're a regional... They're owned and operated by a big regional brewer. Northern Monk should be wiping the floor with them, especially when there's 75p more on that bone. And I know Outland are probably brewing it in bigger batches and they can bring the price down. I appreciate that. But that doesn't make a difference when you're buying it at the supermarket shelf to the consumer. That's poor from Northern Monk. I don't think I've ever called a Northern Monk beer poor. Even the ice cream pale, I think there's a place for it. I mean, it's not my place. I think there's a place for it though, and it's it's just a good bit of fun. This is poor. That's a 1.5 out of 5. I cannot believe I'm saying that about Northern Monk. I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed. I thought that's why I reviewed it second to last, because I genuinely thought it'd be one of the better beers. That's really disappointing. Sorry, Northern Monk, but that's not you. That's not... Something's gone on there. That's not you. Yeah, I don't know. Other things are at play with that beer, I swear. Easily, those two beers together, in terms of absolute quality, probably the worst Northern Monk beer drop we've seen in the supermarket. Not going to lie. Anyway, come on. Timothy Taylor's Don't Let Me Down, please. We're on the Hopical Storm Pale Ale. This is a 4% ABV beer, described as a striking triple hopped pale. There you go. Look at that. Lovely. I'll tell you what, the can art on this is insane. They've kind of got the clear can wrap here with the aluminium of the can shining through the lightning bolt. And this is a lovely... You can hear that. That's a lovely matte finish on that can. It feels like quality. This can was £3.25. It feels quite full, or quite sort of whether it's been dropped, I don't know. Let's have a little go. Open it slowly. Lovely smoky can opening. I've got my stem teku for this one. Let's get it in. Like I say, Timothy Taylor's. If I'm in a pub and it's serving kind of macro beer, that kind of big regional beer, and they've got Landlord on, I'm a pretty happy guy at that point. Although the appearance of this beer has got me worried. And I think that's probably a trend thing. So we've kind of got an amber, probably my glass actually. There we go. An amber, well carbonated beer. Big bubbles on the head. Said it before, didn't I, about quality. On the last beer. It doesn't look the greatest in the glass. It looks Pale ales, we kind of got so used to pale ales being a lovely light straw coloured colour, especially the craft stuff, the canned stuff. It's normally, I mean, this was on the craft shelf, I will say that. This wasn't in the traditional beer, on the traditional beer shelf. This is defined as craft from where it's sitting. This doesn't look like a craft pale ale straight off the bat, but we don't drink with our eyes, do we? I suppose we do a little bit, but we don't taste with our eyes. Let's get an aroma then. Bitter orange coming through. Definitely got that, yet again, we talked about it with the Outland beer. It's definitely got that kind of big regional brewer, ale yeasty vibe to it. Picking up a bit of caramel from the malt, a bit of bread from the malt. It's not hip. It's bearing in mind this is described as, or this is called Hopical Storm. You imagine that you're going to be whacked in the nose with loads of tropical hoppy notes, and you're just not. It's a very malt. It smells to me like a very malt forward pale ale, which is okay. But remember, on the front of the can, it says a striking triple hopped pale ale. It might taste. I mean, the taste might be a bit different, but aroma. I'm not digging it. It's a 4% beer, I should have said. Let's go in for a taste. Cheers, everybody. I think in a weird way, I've kind of, I'm just looking at how I've ranked, how I thought the beers would go 1 to 4, and it's almost the reverse. Let's go in. Cheers, everybody. That is boring. Oh my God, that's boring. I'm so bored. It's definitely got that ale yeast. It's got ale yeasty esters in it. It tastes very traditional. Very malty up front, very caramelly up front. That's actually quite nice. And then there's a subtle hint of burnt orange, and then it just finishes very, very bitter. Almost, and stick with me, Lidl pale ale bitter. You know that cheap, those cheap Lidl beers? I've just given up buying them. I mean, Lidl done a beer drop. I've got them all there. I bought them, but I've never bothered trying them. I just don't care anymore about the Lidl stuff and the Aldi stuff. You know, the Lidl pale ales have that kind of really sticky, astringent, and it's still there. Almost chemical bitterness. This has got it. I don't know. That's poor. That is poor. Pick up a bottle of Landlord over this all day, every day. This is a very malt forward pale ale. It's got some nice malty flavours. It's bready. It's caramel at the start, and then it all goes to pot when the hops start to dance. You get a subtle hint of that burnt orange, but it's very, very bitter, earthy, peaty. Ugh, it's just not good. This is the worst beer of the lot. Easily the worst beer of the lot. It's £3.25. What is a bottle of Timothy Taylor's Landlord? Is it less than £2? I don't know. This says a cyclone of flavour and aromatics tamed by expert brewers in 3 stages of hopping at our independent brewery in Yorkshire. Cascade and Whitbread Goldings in the copper, Cascade and Chinook at the hop backstage, then dry hopping with Jester and Ernest. That's honestly. It's got the unique Timothy Taylor's yeast, so that means obviously it's got the ale yeast that Timothy Taylor's used generally. That is that's rubbish. I don't like slating breweries. It's tough on breweries at the moment, and they're trying new things, and I understand it. I understand what Timothy Taylor's are up to. That's rubbish. It looks miserable in the glass. It smelt poor. That's the worst of the lot. That is a 1 out of 5. That is that's Lidl standard. That is Lidl standard. And at £3.25, you could buy 2 Lidl Pale Ales for the price of this beer. Maybe just less than 2, because I think they're generally £1.79, aren't they? No. Wow. I genuinely thought that this would be the best. I don't know why. It's just the can. They put a lot into the can. It's got a nice metallic sort of opening here for the aluminium of the can to shine through. It just felt like quality to me. And they've been marketing this so heavily. I was just at Brew London, and they give you, when you get your glass at Brew London, they give you a copy of the Ferment magazine that normally ends up in Beer 52. It was all over the front of that. They've marketed the hell out of this beer. And it's poor. In my opinion, it's poor. Timothy Taylor's are better than that. Landlord is better than that. Then you go on to beers like Landlord Dark, which is beautiful. Yeah, there you go. There you go. If I'm honest with you, I genuinely think that beer there is cracking. And I highly recommend you pick some up. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Get in the comments, let me know if you've had any of these beers. Yeah, that's really good. I really enjoyed that. And for £2.50, fill your fridges up. I really would recommend that. I might even do the same. I might even do exactly that. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. Those are the new beers into Morrisons as of the middle of May. Get in the comments, let me know what you think of them. If you've had any of them, like and subscribe, guys, if you'd be so kind. I will see you on the next one. Cheers.